children. How are you all? Hope you are really doing good and have also had a very good weekend. So today we are going to discuss a new topic from a new chapter, right? So we'll see the basic points first, and we'll have the kind of idea about the chapter before we start the unit. Okay, children. So here we say that, for example, right? Just for example, we feel that there are different types of foods. Right? So there are different types of foods in the sense for animals, for human beings, right? For each and every organism living on the earth, there are different types of foods, right? So some people, they depend upon the dal, they depend upon the rice, they depend upon the wheat, okay, and also different other vegetarian foods and all. And some people, they usually depend upon the meat. They depend upon the meat, they depend upon the eggs or chicken or different non-vegetarian items. So even though they are depending upon the vegetarian items or the non-vegetarian items and whatever it is, like as we have already studied in the food chains, right? Already we have seen in the food chains that now we'll try to draw a food chain here. Okay, here these are the plants, and then these plants are eaten by the grasshopper, and this grasshopper is eaten by a frog, and this frog is now eaten by a snake, and this snake is eaten by a eagle. So here you can see that the plants right now, they are eaten by the grasshopper, and grasshopper is eaten by the frog, frog is eaten by the snake, and snake is eaten by the eagle. So basically what's happening here is, so the food, the energy which is in this plant, okay, is being sent into the different organisms, okay, and this chain is called as the food chain. Like this, there are so many food chains which are available. If you take a deer is eaten by a deer, eat plants, and the deer is eaten by a tiger. So like this, you can make a food chain. Like you can take the aquatic animals, okay, and you can make a lot of food chains out of that. So whatever the animals you take, and like the different animals, and also you have their own food chains in the ecosystem. So this ecosystem will contain, ecological system will contain so many food chains. So ultimately what I want to tell here is that though you write any food chain, though you write any number of food chains, 1,000 or 2,000 or 1 lakh food chains and what it may be, the basic thing will be plants. So the grasshopper is directly depending upon the plants, and the frog is indirectly depending upon the plants, okay. So even though it is depending upon the grasshopper, but still it is indirectly depending upon the plants. And here also the frog, and here also snake also directly depending upon the frog, but indirectly depending upon the plants. So each and every organism is depending upon the other organisms for their food material. So especially we'll talk about the plants. That means now it's very much evident that in the lower classes you have studied that plants are the base for the food, isn't it? They prepare their own food material by the process which is called as photosynthesis. So if there is no process called as photosynthesis, then the plants, even each and every organism in the whole world, on the whole earth, will not have food. So photosynthesis is a process which is giving a survival chance for all the living organisms on the earth. So just assume the earth without the plants. All the organisms will die within no time if there are no plants, because that is a source of energy, that is a source of food. Directly or indirectly, that is a source of food. Okay, so now we understood that plants are the source of energy. Plants are the source of food, isn't it? So without plant life, no organism can survive on the earth. Can they survive? No, not by any chance. They cannot survive. Okay, so if any organism has to survive, they have to directly or indirectly depend upon the plants. Okay, children, right? Now, just now we'll come to the family, right? Your family, my family, so whatever it is. So now, how many kgs of rice you consume in a month? We'll just make a like no effort, like we'll make it as a 50 kgs. That means there are four people in your home. There are four people in your home, and you require around how many kgs of rice? 50 kgs of rice per month. So if you're eating three times rice, and also maybe we'll take it as some 50 kgs of rice. So now this, if you 50 kgs of rice, then what about an year? What about an year? So in a year, how much of rice you will consume? How much of rice you will consume? So you will consume now. If it is 600 kgs per year, then what is the land required to grow this particular rice? So now it is around 1.4 square kilometers. It is around 1.4 square kilometers. That is the space required. That is the land required to raise around 600 kgs of rice, the plants, and also to get 600 kgs of rice. Okay, now my point is, now if you're, even if it is raised, and that is okay for your family now, but in future the family size will increase, isn't it? So the family size is never going to be same, right? The children might get married and they will also have children. So the number of people in the house will definitely increase. So if their number increases, do you think the same amount of rice is required per year, per month, and per the year? So, or it will increase, the demand for rice will increase, or it will decrease. Basically the demand for the rice will increase, because 50 kgs, if it is for 4 people, and now your family has some 8 people, this 50 kgs will not be sufficient. At the place of 50, you should have 100. Okay, and at the same time, in the year, you should have around 1200 kgs of rice. Now, if you want to have this 1200 kgs of rice, is this land, that is 1.4 square kilometers, is enough? I'm not talking about one particular family, I'm talking about the whole world. Right? If you take the whole India, every day the population is increasing, though there are deaths and all, but the population is increasing because we have a very good medication and medical facilities now. The doctors are able to cure many diseases. So we have all kinds of medicines required for all kinds of. The lifespan of a man is increasing day by day, isn't it? So if it is increasing day by day, then the number of the death rate will definitely decrease, right? And at the same time the population is also increasing. So if the population is increasing, like this, then definitely the land which is being used for the agriculture will not be sufficient to raise double amount of rice, isn't it? So now that is going to be an impossible task. Do you agree with me? So children, here for example, now we'll take that in your colony there are some 10,000 or 1 lakh people in our vicinity, right? So now for all these people, around we'll take some 10,000 kgs of rice is being used by all these 1 lakh people. Okay, so they're using around 10,000 kgs of rice per year. That will be taken as an example. So now if this number increased to 2 lakhs, okay, if this number increased to 2 lakhs, do you think automatically the rice will increase? Do you think the rice also will increase? No, the rice will not increase, right? So it will not be never equally proportional to the growing population. So that if the population grows, there is no chance that the rice also will grow accordingly, isn't it? So now just take the whole population of India, right? The population of India is increasing day by day, and in the same proportion the rice also should increase. But is it increasing? No, it is not at all increasing. So now if it is not at all increasing, then there will be a deficit of rice, right? So I'm not we are talking about only rice, but you can take all the other vegetables or the wheat or the maize and whatnot. So everything you can take into consideration. So here, according to the population growth, all the resources or the food resources also should grow. But is that happening? Will it happen? But okay, in case if that is the situation, how all this is going to happen? So as the population is increasing, the food production also should increase. So if the food is not increased, if the food production is not increased according to the growing population, then there will be a great deficit of the food, right? Isn't it? Especially of the rice, as we are taking the example of the rice. So there will be a great deficit of the rice to the people. So then now it is a work of the farmers, right? So the farmers are really working hard to produce the food materials for each and every human beings on the earth. So now for example, if the population is increasing, so how can they improve the food production? How they can increase the food production? What are the different ways they have to adapt to increase the food production? Is it that easy? So that becomes a very, very, very big challenge for the farmers, because they have to increase the food production according to the growth of the population, according to the increase of the population. Now this is a big challenge for them. So whatever the available land they have to increase the food production. So that is how they are facing a lot of challenges. Now the name of the lesson, the name of the unit, it would have definitely come into your mind, and the name of the unit is challenges in improving the food production. Challenges in improving the food production. So that is our new unit. That is what we are going to study now. Okay, children. So in this unit, what we are going to learn in this lesson is about the improvements done in the food production. So to meet the demands of the increasing population, we have to increase the food production. So what are the measures we are taking to improve the methods? So apart from human beings, there are other animals also which live along with us, right? So we have domesticated animals, we have domesticated cattle along with us, dogs, cats, or whatever it may be. So even all of these animals also require the food material. So we need to provide the food for all these organisms also. So now that becomes our responsibility. Okay, children. So now it all depends. For example, just for an example, we'll take that. Now we are discussing that how to improve the food production, and also now, for example, if you plant some wheat plants or the rice plants or whatever it may be. Now, for instance, we plant some rice plants or the wheat plants and all. So if they all grow very nicely into a very nice, beautiful green crop, but they are not giving any grains, do you think this is a very good improvement? Do you think it's a very good crop? No, because see what you require when you put these plants. These are not the spinach plants where you get leaves and all. If you get leaves and all, you'll enjoy. You'll cook them. But whereas if the rice plants are giving out very beautiful leaves and all, yeah, they can be used as a fodder for the animals. But what about you? Right? What do you require from the plant? What we require is the grains, right? That means we have to improve the production of the grains, not the leaves or not the roots or not the stems and whatnot. So what we want is the grains. So how to improve that particular grains? So is it that easy? Okay, now what are the factors on which the production of the different crops will depend upon? Now you are going to raise a crop and all, no, right? Now the first thing is that it is very important that what kind of seeds you select. This is all we have learned in our 8th class, right? So what kind of seeds you select? So if you don't select a particular best seeds and all, the crops which comes out might get failed. So many farmers also commit suicide because the crop doesn't turn up. They cannot see the crop, and that's the reason why what happens. These people will suffer, and also in many instances, we have seen that they have committed suicides. Okay, so the kind of seeds which you select, the farmers select, they should be the best seeds, right? The first thing. Second is the properties of the soil. How is the soil? Does the soil contains all the minerals and salts and potassium, nitrogen, all these things. Right? If it doesn't have them, then the plants will not grow. Or are you using the right proper soil? Okay, are you using the clay soil, or you're using the rocky soil, or you're using the red soil, or what all these, like, black soil. So which soil is better, which soil suits better for the plants to grow, for the rice crop to grow. So that is the soil you have to select, right? And also we have to see whether the soil has all the properties per, I mean, physical properties, their biological properties, their chemical properties. All these three properties should match the soil which you are going to use for your crop. And then you have done these two things, but, what about the irrigation? If you don't have the irrigation facility, there is no proper water. There are wells, but they are all dried up. There are rivers, but they are dried up. There are lakes, they are dried up. So even though there are lakes, right, if you don't know how to have a proper irrigation, then if you don't know how to have a proper, like how, what kind of irrigation you are going to use, whether you are going to use the furrow irrigation or the micro irrigation technique methods and whatnot. So what is really good for that particular plant? So that is what is proper application of the irrigation. Second thing is proper application of the fertilizers. So you have very good fertilizers which are left in the last crop. So you just come and you cannot throw them in the ground. So you should know the proper use of the fertilizers. If you don't know the proper use of fertilizers, then the crop will also definitely will not turn up into a good one. So we should know the proper irrigation of the proper application of the irrigations, and also the fertilizers. And also the next factor which is also very important is the weather, right? What kind of weather you are planting this crops, in which kind of weather, like it is summer, if kharif, rabi season. So definitely the weather will make a definitely an important factor for the growth of the plants. Next is, in that area, right, know what kind of insects are there and how they will attack the plants, and also are you able to get the insecticides of that particular plants, and also pesticides of that particular plant. So all these things, like you should be able to keep in your mind. Next is, what kind of weeds grow in that particular place? Will they dominate the crop plants, or, like, no, are you going to do the weeding method regularly, okay, in a regular intervals, so that they will not interfere with the growth of the other crop plants? So all these things you should be able to check out before you try to improve your method of, improve the crop production. So these all things, if you keep in your mind, there are chances that you can improve the crop. So now, what are the different features, and how it is how the complete methods take what are the different ways to improve the food production, and how you can improve the production. So all these things, like, we are going to study in this particular unit. So tomorrow we'll meet again, and until then, see you all, have a great day, God bless.